It is heartening that the government has embarked on an ambitious journey to build such an environment of competitive growth. To my mind, the Make in India initiative has been insightfully crafted to address some of the most fundamental challenges facing the economy today. At the very least, the vision seeks to make India a competitive manufacturing hub. The potential, however, is much larger. Make in India can be a harbinger of transformation for a significantly higher order value capture in the Indian economy, fueling jobs, maximizing revenue, and enabling sustainable development. It can be the basis to re-engineer processes, systems, and policies to bring about extreme and responsible competitiveness of the economy. The potential of Make in India to encourage value creation in the country strikes the very root of a critical shortcoming. Post-liberalization, the economy was exposed to a high degree of free competition internationally that saw global competitive international enterprises and brands establish a dominant presence in the expanding Indian market. The pace of internal reform to make the domestic economy competitive was painfully slow. Over time, the high value-added consumption space thus got predominantly captured by international brands, leaving Indian brands to cater mostly to lower income markets. Many of the global firms also relied on their efficient supply chains overseas to service the Indian market, particularly given a regime of lower import duties. Therefore, value creation in the domestic economy has not been commensurate with the high consumption spend in our markets. The composition of the country's external trade also reflects India's lack of competitiveness in higher order value addition. As a result, high value added products, including branded items, have dominated imports, whilst exports comprise relatively lower value added unbranded products and commodities. Despite the evolution of a rapidly expanding Indian market, a large part of the value created has been accruing overseas. This is one of the primary reasons for the phenomenon of jobless growth in consumption, besides sub-optimizing revenue to the exchequer. The Make in India initiative has the opportunity to reverse this rather adverse circumstance by encouraging the setting up of world-class enterprises that capture larger value for the country. When domestic manufacture is accompanied by ownership of intellectual property in India, the country will maximize retention of value, which otherwise, in the case of foreign ownership, would flow out as royalty with much lower incidence of taxation. It is welcome that concerted effort is being made at the center and states to improve the ease of doing business and foster an environment where investment is encouraged. In a globalized world, capital and consequently jobs will flow only to locations where it can multiply through superior competitiveness. There are examples of many Indian enterprises who, even to serve the Indian market, have shifted their manufacturing base overseas, taking advantage of a more competitive environment there. While such a step may have improved their profitability, it has been at the expense of exporting jobs out of the country. Resorting to producing outside the country only points to the need to ramp up competitiveness in the domestic economy. Having said that, there are others with a patriotic fervor who would rather swim against the tide and invest in the country by overcoming the multifarious challenges. These are investments made by national champions who believe in building the nation's future, recognizing the need to contribute to a shared tomorrow. Such patriotic capital generally coexists with opportunistic capital in any economy. When the interests of opportunistic capital and the nation's interests converge, the country stands to gain immensely. Otherwise, capital will shy away from making in India. Creating the conditions for responsible competitiveness will multiply the inflow of capital, thereby accelerating growth and inclusive value addition. Successful countries across the world have derived enormous strength from enterprises who have, as national champions, created substantial value for their nations. These national champions and their brands are jewels in the crown of the countries they belong to. They are repositories of intellectual capital and innovative capital that ensure profitable and growing economic activity in perpetuity. They have a much larger ability to contribute to national priorities as well as to a globally sustainable future. It is for this reason that many such corporations have been nurtured by their countries to be the driving force powering their economies. I believe we are at that moment in history when India must rev up all its gears to create and nurture its own national champions. Corporations that are ignited by passion, entrepreneurial ability, and patriotic zeal to build world-class institutions of pride and glory. They will be the enterprises of tomorrow who will invest in intellectual capital, build impeccable brands, create vital assets, generate and redeploy surpluses for national growth to deliver larger societal value. A multiplication of such dedicated enterprises would help realize the fullest potential of the Make in India vision and truly create unparalleled value for the country.